Hello, I'm Tom Wilkinson and welcome to Thinking in English. On today's episode, I'm going to give you 5 amazing books to help you improve and practice your English skills. All language students should be reading as often as possible. You can develop your vocabulary and grammar knowledge, discover new information about cultures and history, and enjoy yourself at the same time. It can be scary and frustrating when trying to choose your first English book, but hopefully this episode will make it a much simpler experience. Don't forget to check out the Thinking in English blog, where you can find a full transcript, and also my Instagram page, Thinking in English Podcast, or the link is in the description. Reading is an essential part of learning English. It helps to boost your vocabulary, improve your grammar, develop advanced sentence structure, and most of all, it is fun. You should all include reading as part of your study schedule. However, for many learners, it can be a daunting task. There are so many books out there. Where can we start? How do I know if a book is too difficult for me or too easy? Well, this is where I come in. Today, I'm going to give you 5 book recommendations. While there are similar lists available online, the books I'm going to recommend are a little different. Each book is available in the original native English form, but also as a graded reader. Graded readers, or sometimes just readers, are books that have had the language level simplified to help learners read them. The language in the books is graded for vocabulary, complexity of grammar, and also by the length of the book. They also include vocabulary help and comprehension activities to make sure you really understand what you are reading. Graded readers are available from a number of different companies, including Penguin, which will be featured in this episode, Pearson, and Cambridge. And they are available in levels ranging from beginner to advanced. The 5 books I have chosen today range from level 3 to level 7 as graded readers. So that's A2 to B2 on the European language framework, or in other words, the first reader I recommend will be at upper beginners level, and the last reader I recommend will be at upper intermediate level. Of course, you can always pick up the original native English version if you prefer. It's completely up to you to decide. And I have already recorded an episode quite a few months ago, similar to this, so I'll leave the link for you to check it out and look at those 5 books I recommended 5 months ago. So, after hearing my description of the books, you can select the one that you think is most interesting and decide whether you want to try reading the full native version or a version aimed at ESL students. I'll include links to all of the books I mention in the podcast description and on the Thinking in English blog. These links will come from Amazon.com. Most of the books are very affordable and available to download as a Kindle ebook on the free Amazon Kindle app. In fact, I think some of the older books are actually free to download as ebooks. So in this episode, maybe 2 of them might be free to download. As an Amazon associate, I earn from qualifying purchases. So if you buy anything using my links, you will be helping to support the podcast. So if you click on the link and whatever you buy, I get a very small percentage of it. I do all of this for free because I want to help people learn to study. But if you buy something from one of those links, it could be a book or it could be, a TV, anything, you will be helping to improve this show. And finally, do not feel embarrassed about reading a graded reader. By choosing your first English books wisely, and if needed, choosing a graded reader, you will have a very positive reading experience. But You've waited long enough. Let's get straight in to the list. The Extraordinary Life of Stephen Hawking. Let's start off today's book recommendations with a biography about an incredibly famous scientist. Stephen Hawking was one of the most influential, respected, and well-known scientists of the past 100 years. After being diagnosed with motor neuron disease at the age of 21 and told he only had a few years left to live, he dedicated his life to trying to answer some of the biggest questions and problems in the world. For example, how did the universe begin? What is a black hole? Is time travel possible? He studied space and time and taught people a lot about the universe. You may have seen the movie, The Theory of Everything, which is about his life. I think this would be an excellent book for anyone interested in science or interested in reading biographies. As he was a scientist, of course, the book references a lot of scientific information, but it also talks about his extraordinary life and how he was successful despite his disabilities. I'll link both the original book and the Penguin graded reader version. The book is full of narrative biography, timelines, fascinating facts, and some beautiful illustrations. The graded reader version is a level 3 reader, so it is designed for students ranked A2 in the CEFR framework. Basically, it's upper beginner level. Sentences have up to 3 clauses, and the most difficult grammar is first conditional, past continuous, and present perfect simple. If this is too easy for you, then why not try the original native English version? Artemis Fowl. When I was younger, one of my favourite books was Artemis Fowl by Owen Colfer. The book is aimed at younger readers, but this means that the original version has probably got the simplest grammar and vocabulary of all of my recommendations today. Artemis Fowl is a 12-year-old boy and a criminal mastermind. In the book, he hatches a plan to steal all of the gold from Fairy Land and must avoid the magical police's attempts to stop him. Artemis Fowl is a hilarious and exciting story with likable characters and a very imaginative version of fairies, dwarves, and trolls. These magical creatures are not the usual creatures found in books. They have guns and they are ready to fight. Although it is a children's book, this doesn't mean that adults won't like it too. I still read Harry Potter. Again, I'll leave links to both the original and the Penguin graded reader version. The graded reader version of the book is ranked as a level 4, which is A2 plus on the scale. So it is right between beginner and intermediate level. The original version of the book is obviously a little more difficult, but it is aimed at children, native-speaking children, of course, between the ages of 10 and 14 years old. So don't be scared to try the native English version if this book sounds interesting to you, because it's a children's book. It's not too difficult. Frankenstein. Next, let's move on to one of the most famous books in the entire world, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Mary Shelley created the story of Frankenstein over 200 years ago while travelling in Switzerland with her husband, the poet Percy Shelley, and their friend Lord Byron. Due to bad weather, the group entertained themselves by writing and telling ghost stories to each other. Frankenstein was born out of this rainy day game. Victor Frankenstein, a scientist studying natural philosophy, manages to give life to a creature with human features. However, after the experiment doesn't satisfy the scientist, His monster is left to be free and lonely. This book is an incredibly psychological novel and is considered a turning point in English language literature, tackling themes like horror, romance, and drama. The original version of the book is incredibly written, really, really good, but it can be challenging for people not used to reading in English, especially if you're not used to reading classic novels and old-fashioned language. If you're confident, then by all means try the native English version. But if you're a little more hesitant, then the graded reader should be great for you. I have linked a level 5 Frankenstein graded reader, which is equivalent to B1 on the CEFR framework. In other words, an intermediate level book. The sentences have up to 4 clauses, and the most difficult grammar includes the present perfect continuous, past perfect, and second conditional. The Turn of the Screw. Now let's look at another classic novel, but this time written by an American author, called The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. This book is one of the most famous ghost stories in the English language, and the author is considered one of the greatest ever horror story writers. The Turn of the Screw traces the story of a young and inexperienced governess who must look after 2 young orphaned children. The governess sees an unknown man and women around the house, but it turns out they may already be dead. The graded reader version of Turn of the Screw is a level 6, which is a B1 plus in the CEFR framework, which is perfect for intermediate readers. This is the longest reader I have recommended so far, with sentences up to 4 clauses long and difficult grammar including future continuous, reported questions, third conditional, was going to, and ellipsis. If this is too easy for you, then definitely give the original version a go. I'll leave links to both. Originals. The final book I'm recommending today is an incredibly popular modern piece of non-fiction. Originals: How Nonconformists Move the World by Adam Grant. In this book, the author looks at how being original can change the world. It is a guide on how to be successful by being original. Instead of following the mainstream, he looks at how we can go against the grain, battle against conformity, and stop outdated traditions. Using a number of studies and stories, the author looks at how to recognize a good idea, speak up without getting silenced, find allies, and choose the right time to act. If you want to learn how to champion new ideas and avoid groupthink, this is the book for you. The graded reader version of Originals is a level 7, so ranked B2 on the European framework. I guess this will be considered a good book for upper intermediate English learners. The book's sentences have up to 4 clauses, with the most difficult grammar including future perfect simple, mixed conditionals, more complex passive forms, and modals for dedication in the past. While the original native English version is more difficult, it is great to challenge yourself. So, it's up to you to decide which one you want to read. So they are my 5 recommended books today. I've recommended a children's book, a biography about a famous scientist, a non-fiction book about how to improve yourself, and 2 pieces of classic literature. Which one would you like to read? Are you going to challenge yourself by reading the original book? Or do you think you should start by reading a couple of graded readers? Let me know if you decide to choose any of these books yourself. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed it, please leave a review or rating, recommend it to your friends, or let me know on Instagram. My Instagram is thinkinginenglishpodcast. The link should be in the description. And make sure you check out the Thinking in English blog. I love hearing from listeners, and I really appreciate all of the messages I have received over the past few months. Feel free to send me a message or give me some advice or recommend a topic. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.